Hey everybody, it's Janice with Creating Through Chaos, and I'm going to start this project off with this wooden book stack that I got at a thrift store. I'm going to take the top book, and I am going to paint that with the color Almondine. Once I have that top book all painted, I am also going to paint the second book in the stack with the same color Almondine. Once I have that one all painted, I'm going to take the final book, and I'm going to paint that with a dark blue. And some of these books took a couple of coats, so I'm going to make sure that I do the double coats if it needed it. Once I have them all painted, I am going to take the top book and I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to draw out my lines. So I did a line every 1 inch. So I'm just going to mark off my spots and then go ahead and draw the lines so I have nice straight lines to go by. And I'm making sure that I make those lines go all the way down the front of the book also. And then I am going to take some masking tape and I'm going to tape off every other line. So I'm just going to put this tape right on the edge of my first line. Go right around the front. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the third line in. And make sure it goes around the front. And make sure that it's held down really well. And then I'm going to take some deep burgundy and I'm going to paint the lines that do not have the tape on them. And again, I'm going to do the edges and the front. And I did do 2 coats of this burgundy on here. Making sure that in that divot that tape was stuck down well so that when I peel it off, there isn't a bunch of red underneath on my white. Once I have that all painted, I peeled up the tape, and here's what it looks like. If you need to touch up your white, you can go ahead and do it then. Next, I'm going to take this stencil that had a bunch of stars on the bottom of it. I believe this stencil came from Dollar Tree, but I could be wrong. And then I'm just going to tape that right to the front of the blue book, right on the binding. And then I'm going to use a sponge pouncer with a very little bit of the Almondine paint on it. And I am going to stencil those stars right on the front of the book. So just going over them very lightly, not reloading my pouncer, and just kind of going over each one as many times as I need to until I get the coverage that I want. And once I have it all covered, I can peel that stencil up. And now I have perfect little stars on my bottom book. Next, I'm going to take some burnt umber paint and I'm going to mix it with some water. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush and just dip it in that and then go through each white line and highlight the sides of each one. So I'm just going to go and paint that watered down burnt umber on each one of these white lines, making sure that I get my edges and the front. And I'm going to do that to both the white lines. Once I have that all finished, I'm going to take my sanding block and I'm going to sand off the edges of all of the books. So I'm just going to go around quickly and sand those edges. Once I have them all sanded, I'm just going to go around all of the books with some antique wax. And I'm going to go right over the stars on the front of this book, right over the whole binding on this one, and the edges. And then on the top one with the stripes, I'm going to go over the whole entire thing, right over all of those stripes and all the edges. I love anything Patriotic to be very vintage looking and rustic. So I'm just going to make sure I get it really rustic looking on the top. Next, I'm going to take some wood glue and I'm going to start gluing these books back together. So I'm going to add some wood glue and then a little bit of hot glue. And then I'm going to stack this book right on top of the blue one. I'm going to make sure that I get it in the center. And then I'm going to repeat the same process for the top book. So just a little bit of the wood glue and a little bit of hot glue. And then again, right in the center. And look how cute this is turning out. Next, I took a piece of burlap and a piece of muslin. And I had stamped USA on the muslin. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue to place that burlap on that second book down, and then add that little piece of muslin with the stamped USA on it. And I think these are turning out so cute. Next, I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to wrap them around the book. So I'm going to start by taking a piece and gluing it to the bottom. So I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue to hold that in place, and then just start wrapping around the top of the books. And then once I get as many wraps as I want, I'm going to glue that piece down and then cut off the excess. Make sure that that is stuck well, and then I'm going to flip them back over. And then I'm just going to kind of spread them apart a little bit, getting them positioned to where I wanted them. And then I'm going to take a piece of twine. I'm going to run it right underneath that pile of twine that we wrapped around. And I'm going to just tie it into a bow. Make sure I get my loops even, and then cut the tails to be even as well. And then I'm going to take some Sweet Annie, and I'm just going to kind of slide that right underneath there. And then I'm going to take this star and a rusty safety pin, and I'm going to secure that right to the center of this bow. And then just kind of arrange it how I wanted it. And that is it. This project is done. I think this turned out absolutely amazing, and I love it so much. I love anything patriotic, especially when it has a rustic vibe to it. And this book stack turned out so cute. I think I paid like $1 for these at the thrift store, and I see them there all the time. You could do this project with some books from the thrift store, or even from Dollar Tree, or even different size wooden blocks. Either way, I think this project would turn out so super cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it inspires you to make one. Thank you for watching, and as always, don't forget to spread the chaos.